Hey, what's so funny?
Nothing. It's just your accent.
Yeah, what about it?
It doesn't sound very Japanese.
Ooh, it's been a while since an anime gave me Cypher the Video vibes.
Well, since I'm good at acting in ordinary life, like an Academy winner.
Hello and welcome again to Oldtaku New Tricks, where today we're looking at Netflix's Great Pretender. Befitting the title, our anime focuses on one Makoto Edamura, a con man who is looped into grand convoluted schemes all over the world by his mentor slash fodder for shipping fanfics, Laurent Tari.
Huh? What was that? Open wide.
Huh?
Just by premise alone, I knew I was in for something that just wasn't made for me, and by the time I finished every available episode, I came to one conclusion. This really wasn't made for me. Spoilers from here on out. Even as the anime bounced from con job to con job, never really staying in one place for too long, I couldn't shake the feeling of being irritated by the same trappings that I knew would be there. And then I began to sink into my couch, worrying over just what I would have to say about it come time to make an ONT on it. Because, objectively speaking, or as near as makes no difference, it's not a bad show.
He'll learn the truth eventually. In fact, he may already know. And he's just pretending not to when he's in front of you.
It's uniquely realized with its standout backgrounds and animation, its stories are neatly bookended and provide the requisite action, levity, and thoughtful moments as one would want and hope for. It's stylish, slick, and has characters that I can see being fun and interesting to most people. And if this were a show about anything other than what it is about, I would imagine me being much more positive right now. I'll fully admit that my grievances lie on me and me alone, but at the end of the day, what would you rather me do? Lie and say I had a great time, or tell the messy, convoluted truth? It's funny that it comes down to truth, seeing as how the show centers around a group of liars and thieves, and that is reason number one with a bullet why I have such a huge problem with Great Pretender. The first 5 episodes especially, since that is where the show focuses on that element the strongest.
That junkie online taught you how to do this, right? All you need to do now is pretend you're Walter White.
When you are watching a story that centers around people that lie for a living, as a con man does, you are preconditioned to expect the main characters to lie constantly. You expect scenes of the characters priming their target and gaining their confidence, and thus weasel their way into stealing whatever they're targeting. Otherwise, what would be the point of creating a story about con artists? And that I really can't stand. Stories that are predicated upon scene after scene of their characters acting in bad faith like this, I find to be utterly uninvolving, and I mentally check out. Every single time, from Matchstick Men to Now You See Me, I either watch with rolled eyes or I just stew in my own anger. But to its credit, it did take me watching Great Pretender to be able to articulate why I keep doing this. You see, narrative and story are built upon the notion that what the characters say or do is done with earnestness. We know them as characters because we trust that what they say and what they do is firmly grounded in how they feel and what they experienced. And true enough, Great Pretender has moments where the cast let their masks slip and actually talk about what is real to them.
If I can be honest with you, I don't know the kind of pain you're carrying around. But Abby, you aren't the only person here who's suffering.
And this is effective and involving because it's based on truth, and they are easily the best parts of the show. Few and far between as they are. But when the characters are trying to charm their way into the Mark's trust, it's all smoke and mirrors and lies. And since the show is keen to point out that they only go after morally dubious people, it means that they're only in the right by comparison. So, by summation, the show is essentially about liars and thieves stealing from other liars and thieves. It's just that those other liars also happen to be chauvinistic oil princes.
It's a man's sport. There's only room for true warriors. It's not a place for heavy makeup and pretty smiles.
Women should focus on their housework.
Or snobbish art dealers.
Yes, I wanted to observe your work more closely.
I told you to choose another path. You're acting no better than that vile Frenchman.
Or sex trafficking Hollywood producers that also slings hard drugs.
You worthless, ungrateful scumbag! Huh? You say something? Any other traitor should beware. Was that it?
Yeah, one's not exactly like the other two, if you catch me. Point being that if we mainly know our protagonists by them tricking Marks over and over again, we just only know them as charming liars. and I don't find that involving in the slightest. I don't really care to know just how the four central characters, Makoto, Laurent, the sneering tough girl Abigail, or the femme fatale Cynthia, plan to heist millions of dollars and walk away scot-free. The dynamic just doesn't hold any appeal to me at all. So I'm just left with a show whose very premise I couldn't care less about, even though, as I said before, it's a perfectly serviceable show. I do love the fact that the show hops around the world from America to Singapore, and I do appreciate how the art and direction of the series catches each location's sense of architecture and general atmosphere. Shout out to the NZL with the miles-long line of cars. And again, as I've said before, when the show allows its characters to be characters, it's at its best. Toward the later episodes, the last of which have yet to be released on Netflix, when we learn more about Cynthia and her past, I found it to be pleasantly bittersweet. Her backstory is almost O. Henry-like in its dramatic irony.
I'd imagined you would become a stage actress, but a con artist. It's like a bad joke.
And yet, on the flip side of the coin, Makoto's story and character is almost frustrating, due in large part to his relationship with Laurent. While Makoto begins the series as a con man, he tries to break good after the first arc by turning himself in and repaying back all the money he just got on his last job toward all the people he wronged. At least until Laurent tricked him into joining back up with his group, because apparently Laurent hasn't pegged as a con man, whether or not Makoto wants to admit to it, which completely robs him of his agency.
Congrats! You found your way back to us. And welcome to the team. You're part of Team Confidence now.
You could make the argument that Makoto doesn't really know what he wants, but the fact remains that he earnestly tried to move on from the life. But Laurent shanghaied him first, then asked him to join. This all speaks to the eye-rolling nature of Laurent's characterization. He is an annoyingly smug, capricious asshole who says he doesn't know everything.
Could it be that you had all of this set up from the beginning?
Huh?
You knew that the authentic snow of London was hidden away in Nice.
But you wouldn't know that by the extreme degree he plans his heists. Most of the time. It's not quite Death Note levels of ridiculous preparedness, but Laurent does seem to come out no worse for wear thanks to his unbelievable amount of forward planning, while also mitigating the damage done by Makoto going off script, which he does constantly.
Did you do something again?
You switched them on purpose.
Gotta get rid of this before it gets shoved up my ass.
You just have to wonder why Laurent bothers to keep Makoto's number in his phone, because he is a textbook liability. I suppose a lot of my personal hangups with the character might be smoothed over when the fourth part of the season is released sometime in the near future, but as it is, I don't feel the slightest compulsion to continue watching the show. I understand its appeal, and I wish I could appreciate it on its own merits, but to borrow a metaphor, if you don't like fish, it wouldn't matter if a fillet of salmon were served to you on a silver platter prepared by a Michelin-starred chef. You still don't like fish. Never has an anime made me wish I liked it more than Great Pretender, but that's just simply how I feel. But what about all of you? What did you think of Great Pretender?